everyone wants that Rocky moment. Montage of you just like PRing, whatever. And a lot of the times it's like, the good decision is to just hold back a little bit.
Yeah. But just like the actual physicality of the sport itself, like demands in the muscles and tendons.
Yeah.
Jumps and landing.
Yeah.
How fit are skateboarders? Hey guys, I'm here with Dan from Skateboard Strength. I don't think we're going to be doing much skateboarding today,
no.
But
we're both a little banged up and injured.
a little banged up, but I'm going to ask Dan all about strength training for skateboarding. He does a great job breaking down the basics for extreme sports athletes. Whether you're a skateboarder or just looking to stay fit and generally prepared for life, I think you're going to take a lot away from Dan and his expertise working with those sorts of athletes. What do you want on there?
Same, I'll go same, dude. That's heavy for me today.
I don't think people realize how physically demanding skateboarding is.
Yeah.
Like they see the tricks and the balance, like the skill aspect. They see the physicality of like the falls.
Yeah.
But just like the actual physicality of the sport itself, like demands on the muscles and tendons.
Yeah.
Jumps and landing.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear from you, like how fit are skateboarders? Like for the audience at home watching, like when I see skateboarders doing some of this crazy stuff, like how fit do you have to be to do that?
Well, I think we're like at the stage now we're finding out as well. I'm always battling the thing of like skaters like saying that you don't want to get too big for skateboarding. I don't think we've found out just how big a skateboarder can get yet.
Yeah.
You know, because they're like, oh, it makes you too big and too bulky and you need to be lean and it's just like, man, like we haven't gotten a skateboarder that has trained hard enough to really find out just how big they can get and still be really good and athletic and, you know what I mean? Because a lot of skateboarders, you get them in the weight room, like they're not that strong. Like it's almost like training a Gen Pop newbie, right? So a lot of the time you're gonna do the basics, you know, like skim a hinge variation, a lunge variation, you know, we'll obviously hit some pliers and stuff like that. ISOs are big with them as well because it's just like low barrier of entry, you know. But I'm starting to get some of my guys strong, you know, 100 kilogram kind of deads and stuff like that, you know, 80 kilogram squats and that, and they just keep getting better and they just feel better.
Yeah.
So it's hard when we're not really in a position to say like how strong or how big they can get yet, because it's really kind of grassroots for them to be accepting training. Like that's why I think I've gotten so popular. There's not many of me doing it out there, right? There's only like a handful of us because there's been such a pushback from the community. Like I've gotten a lot of hate for what I do, like with skateboarding. And there's even like guys that get too big for skateboarding, they get called out as like jocks and stuff like that. So I think we're still yet to see, but I honestly think sky's the limit, right? You see like all the big sports, like I always say this to my guys, like, you know, you see like the NFL and ice hockey and all that. Back in the day when these guys had like day-to-day jobs and then they would kind of like play the game on the weekend. Like the big pinnacle of when they become athletes is when they go full-time and strength and conditioning really comes in and it just allows them to just grow into these absolute monsters, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what's been exciting for me with skateboarding is just like being at that level and thinking like we could really make some awesome changes and what are these guys going to be capable of once we get them like 4 or 5 years of good S&C work under their belt, you know what I mean? And that's what's been really exciting about it, you know? Yeah.
I think of like parkour athletes and gymnasts. There's some like absolute physical monsters in those sports. Yeah. And they're still like really elastic, springy, athletic. I feel like skateboarding probably isn't too far off from like parkour and gymnastics in terms of physical demands. I don't know if that's off base or if you think that'd be the closest analog to like, you know, similarities with other sports we see.
Yeah, 100%. I think I'd be interesting with like with parkour, but what do you? I think what you don't realize with skateboarding and that big difference is just how much the relationship it has with injuries. You know what I mean? Like, I think You know, for example, with gymnastics, you can get through a training camp and a training session relatively uninjured, you know what I mean? You can plan for those contingencies and stuff like that. Not too sure about parkour, how often they miss and how brutal it is, but most skate sessions, you know, like, or every couple of skate sessions, a skater's gonna have some form of an injury. So you gotta be really diligent in terms of giving them avenues to go down, in terms of planning around like these injuries to continue to get them to be able to skate and train. Because that was a big thing as well. It's just like they start with the program, 2 weeks in, they're injured. It's like half the stuff in the program they can't do. Yeah. So how do we keep them training, right?
Yeah.
So you can't just be so rigid with their programming, right? And I think that's a misconception that people thinking like skaters are landing their tricks 90% of the time and falling 10. And it's actually the inverse, right? Like when they're pushing, they're falling 90% of the time, maybe landing 10%, right? Yeah. Like if they're actually going after something, you know, it's like I've had skaters, I think I was saying to you earlier, it's like they'll battle a trick for 3 hours and not land it.
Yeah.
And so it's 3 hours of throwing themselves down, you know, a 10 set of stairs with a railing, missing, and just like eating it for 3 hours, not landing, like, and then you got to like go back and do it again next weekend, right? Until you get it.
Even if you do land,
even if you do land, like
it's a big drop.
If you do land, it's like it's impact in itself, but it's actually like bailing, missing the rail, not landing on your face, putting your arm out, you know, like being able to like roll out of things efficiently and not stiffen up so much as you land and accept load. Like some of the best skaters, you see them, like if they're warming up and that, like they're just so fluid, and like when they land and they fall, they're bails out of things. It's just like a work of art. It's like, it's actually more impressive than watching them land something. Yeah. Watching them battle a trick is so sick. Oof.
I just started doing those.
That looks sick.
Split snatches are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They're a fun one. Sorry, I'm out of breath now.
How many of those are you gonna do?
Let's do one more.
All right, easy.
Yeah.
I'll go there, do one more. Then we'll squat.
Yeah.
Easy.
You brought up an interesting point about like, it's hard to program anything optimally when someone like has so many falls and just like so much unpredictability in their sport day to day. Yeah. How do you handle that? Is it just auto-regulation? Is it like reactive, like you see what someone's skate session is and then program a workout around it? Like, how do you navigate that? Yeah, I mean, I largely kind of like have a template in my head of how I'm gonna do things. I think we discussed this a little bit earlier as well, which is like they come in, usually like the warm-up's about addressing something an issue that they've had, you know, whether it be a hip issue or whatever. It's like, how can we get them to a point where they can actually attempt to hit the lifts that we had planned, you know? And sometimes it's there, we can get them to that point, sometimes it's not, and you just got to adjust slightly, right? It's not that like complicated. It's like, I wanted to do a hinge with them today or a lunge variation, all right? It's just like then, like they can't do that hinge or that lunge variation, figure out one that they can do and then work around it. Some days it's not there altogether and you just got to kind of plan around, you know what I mean? It's just like they, that customado thing, right? It's just like everyone has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. It's like you write the best program out and then, you know, like you spend hours doing it and then Tuesday morning, Monday morning, skater comes in and it's just like, they've got like a purple left knee, right wrist is bad, so they can't hold a dumbbell or press on that side. Yeah. And it's just like a mismatch on like, you know, like their right toe is buckled and you're just trying to piece everything together. But I don't think it has to be as complicated as people think it is, you know what I mean? It's just like, try a couple of variations. Like, you know, like the progression regression model, it's just like, what do they feel good on? Like they'll tell you, you know, and then it's like, all right, that's the lunge variation we're gonna do today. That's the hinge we're gonna do today, you know? You might work some like light plyos in and whatever and see how they're feeling. And if it's not there, it's not there, you know?
I don't know. It's not. I think we tend to overcomplicate it sometimes. You know what I mean? When we talk about it all, but it's just like when you have someone in front of you, it's not as hard as like when you're trying to write about it online or whatever, you know, and just like you can just literally ask the athlete, how is that feeling, or like how do you feel, and then start addressing, like, you know, make educated decisions around what you're going to give them. But ultimately, they'll tell you, you know. So it's just like, ask them.
I'm huge on that. Just like a lot of the things that coaches overcomplicate the most, if you just ask your athletes, like, all of the confusion, you're like, worry as a coach, am I doing the right thing? Like, a lot of that is irrelevant. If you're just like, hey, what do you want to do today? Like, what can you do? How are you feeling? It doesn't have to be that complicated.
You know, sometimes I got to step in as well, because sometimes they'll want to go, and then I'll see them start moving, and they're just slow, and you can see they've been in the walls a little bit. I'm just like, all right, stopping that weight, or like, we're doing this many sets today. They're like, why? They're like, so they just don't know either, right? And they have a gnarly mindset of just like going for things and just like until they're completely like just buckled. And so they got to understand that it's like, remember, like, this is here to complement what you do out there, not the other way around, right? We don't need to send all the time in here. Right? It's okay for you to walk out of here feeling good and not like you're just completely buckled. We'll have moments where we can kind of like go at things. You know, the skaters aren't always like filming, and so the high level injury isn't like always there. They'll have windows where they potentially not have as many projects going on. And that's when we can kind of drop the hammer a bit. And it's just educating them on that as well, right? It's just like, when is a good time to send? When is it not? What have we got coming up in terms of your schedule? And a lot of it, you know, that's probably one of the most valuable things I've been able to give them. They've just never thought about that. You know, a lot of skaters get into skating because they don't like organized sports, and they don't have seasons, and they don't have coaches. So it's just been them. And so just getting them to actually think about like, all right, I've got a skate trip coming up in 3 months' time that I want to be on for. All right, so we're going to go through like an intensification block now. All right, and then we'll taper you down. And they're like, what? Like, they're just, you know, just like, you know what I mean?
That's awesome. Yeah, you can get you're doing one more, right? Or did you already go?
No, I'll go.
Okay. Nice.
See how this feels.
Nice. So one of the reasons I'm excited to talk to you today is I think more than most other athletes, skateboarders are no stranger to training through pain and injury. All those sorts of things. I call this kind of training podcast the Anti-Fragile Lifting Club.
Oh, man.
I think no one better than a skateboarder to kind of be a good example of what that's all about.
Yeah, I think if you like, as a skateboarder, if you waited to be pain-free to train, you'd never get to train, and you never get the skateboard at all. Like, it's just, there's always something going on, and there's something that you got to kind of work around. It's been a really hard part educating trainers of just like, all right, what level of pain do we ignore, and what level of pain needs to be addressed? You know what I mean? Because if you think about it, like, skateboarding, like, the biggest glorious moments come from ignoring high levels of pain in search of landing that trick, right? Like, they'll battle 3 hours, throwing themselves down, you know, a 10 stair with a railing, trying to land this trick, ignoring the bruises and then the cuts and the scrapes and the ankle rolls on the spot to battle this trick to get something that they've never done before, right? For like 3-5 seconds of footage. And that's what it's based on, just ignoring all this pain. But then they apply that same gnarly mindset to everything, right? And it's just like, teaching them about how to communicate with pain and tell me, like, what are you feeling? Because like, they rock up on the day, I'm like, how you feeling? Like, yeah, I'm good. Because they're just used to working with such this, like, and then you start doing stuff and they're like, oh, actually my knee hurts and this happened. I'm like, why don't you tell me at the start? They're like, oh, it's always like that. You know?
I think most people in the general population and a lot of athletes that come from like more technical sports like Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting, I think a lot of those athletes might be sometimes too guarded around pain.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I wonder if skateboarders kind of are on the other side and they like need to be dialed in and be like, no, maybe you should stop. Is that your experience with
Yeah,
that?
100%. Because like I said, they had just are used to working with such a base level of pain that they just think it's normal, and actually getting them to the point where like they start training and they start feeling better and they're like, I didn't know it could be like this. And then the education around, all right, now we need to start understanding what pain do we ignore, what pain do we need to kind of address, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, kind of like a rule of thumb I always say to them is just like, because they'll always have like some sort of a bruise or they landed or scrape and something like that, or a small issue. So we'll like, you know, sort of like that little red light in the dashboard of the car. It's like, it's telling you something. Do we ignore it or do we kind of keep going, all right? Or do we actually have to kind of stop and pull you back from stuff, right? And then for me, it just kind of comes down to like, you start addressing it with like, you know, the warm-ups and stuff in the gym, see how they respond. If it gets better, they're like, okay, cool. So it's not as big of an issue as what we thought. We can still train, we might modify a couple of things. But then, you know, if it's something that consistently is still there after like a week or 2 weeks, it's like, all right, this is something more than what we thought. We need to address it before it turns into something kind of big, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of pain, you're kind of working through some stuff yourself right now.
Yeah.
So like, I know today we're doing some like lighter tempo squats. Tell me about like what's been going on with you and how you've been personally navigating it.
Yeah, so I had a syndesmosis repair, surgery for that, and a cleanup because my ankle was honestly pretty dusted from skating. And actually, when I did the syndesmosis, didn't feel that bad. Just that, again, I skated beyond that 3 or 4 months, and I think that is largely due to the level of strength training that I've been able to do. That I was just able to just master things for a long time until shit hit the fan completely. And then I was like, my knee was just like, my ankle and knee was just buckling like as I was walking stairs and stuff, right? I got to drop into a lunge to like show a client and it just collapsed on me. So eventually had to go surgery route. And I think that was probably about a year ago now. So rehabbing that. And I've kind of just gotten back into skating now. But I've just started introducing squats again, just because I went after unilateral. Like I just really wanted to kind of expose the loading on that leg because I'd always kind of trying to want to shift away from it, you know what I mean? And trying to hide that. And so now that I've kind of gotten my lunges, Bulgarian split squats and all that kind of stuff back up into like similar strength levels between left and right, I found as soon as I started squatting, I would still try and shift over, like if I went fast. So my antidote to that would just be like I would lunge first and then start introducing almost like repatterning work with the squat and just like super slow, 6-second eccentric, big pause at the bottom, and just kind of just get that leg confident to load again. And I would feel it like as soon as I start coming down, I'd want to shift. And it's like, no, like shift back and then just like force it to load. And slowly, so it started to come back now. But yeah, it's just been a work in progress, you know what I mean?
At some point, it's not even the strength anymore. It's just like the habit and the almost like fear, internalized fear around it.
The guarding of it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing I think most people miss as well. And it's just like, just because you've gotten rid of the injury and because you've got like similar strength between left and right, doesn't necessarily mean that like you put someone back in a bilateral environment that they're just going to operate normal again.
Yeah.
You know, you still have to kind of grease that wheel and, you know, work on that technique that little bit. And one of the things that I found best to do it is just like slow it right down, because you can hide, you know, things with speed, which I'm really good at as well. You know what I mean? Especially if you just dive bombing the eccentric. But if you're like having a really kind of like load slow, like you feel yourself wanting to do it. And so it's a really nice opportunity to kind of do that. And you'll be stronger for it once you start letting the brakes off as well, right?
You going to?
Yeah, I'll go like 2 on that and see what we'll see how that weight feels. What is that? So one thing I can't get used to is the transfer of the pounds to kilograms.
It's like just over 100. It's like 101.
Okay. Yeah. So I think before I left a couple of weeks ago, I'd gotten back up to like a 120. But that was a minute ago, and I've been sick in that time. Jet lag. This trip's taken its toll on me.
Yeah, travel always does, man. It's rough.
Yeah.
Nice. Solid.
You had an injury as well, right? Your meniscus?
Yeah. I've got
Would you
some
put on the
stuff
25?
going on. Yeah, I put a 25 on there. Yeah, you know, and I'm not even 100% sure what happened to it. Like, you had the obvious fall, you know, where you got your ankle.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just one of those things where, like, you're going through training and you're like, man, that doesn't feel right. Like, I must have done something to it.
Yeah.
But there was never, like, a moment, you know? But it's been tricky. It's mostly high velocity, like running and sprinting, where like my leg whips back, you know, past a certain angle at speed.
Yeah.
It'll bother me. And then it gets me on deep flexion a little bit as well, like deep squats.
Yeah.
It's getting better, but I've had to like back way off on this just for a bit.
So what's been your anecdote to all of that? Like everything you just described, just like shorten your range, don't do kind of big velocity work where you're kind of flicking back like that?
Yeah, basically I had to pull back on speed. So like I did more just like moderate velocity stuff.
Yeah.
So that where that joint angle wasn't as extreme. And then gym stuff, like lunges is just not quite as deep.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I could have done some like partial range squats, but I just didn't feel like it. So I'm like, I'm just gonna lunge more for a while.
Yeah.
As opposed to deep squats, that's fine. Open chain stuff has been fine. It's the like combination of compression and flexion that really gets it more in terms of like weight room stuff.
Yeah.
So I've still done like leg extension.
Yeah.
All that stuff has been fine. It's been like, I guess I'm just not gonna do very heavy squats for a while.
Yeah.
And just be patient with it, you know?
Yeah.
So just in the last couple of weeks, I've like started getting back under the bar of squats again.
Yeah.
Feels a little foreign, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. It feels all over the place, right?
Yeah.
But it's just funny because it's like, like I think people tend to freak out with even something like that. You know, you select meniscus. Like I think I was saying to you before, when they MRI'd my knee, because originally my knee was what was giving me an issue until they found out it was the ankle that was the issue. They found like a meniscus tear and all these other stuff. I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't hurt me. Like, yeah, but you got this stuff. I'm like, yeah, but I don't care. It's like, it's not affecting me because it's all like medial side. I'm like, I'm lateral side. Like, can you give me a reason as to this? And like, no. I'm like, well, I don't care about this, like the meniscus. It's not an issue, right? And
I'm sure any extreme sports athlete, like
you're gonna find something.
You're gonna have so much pathology in there that half of it's not gonna hurt.
And it's just like, well, does it hurt? And it's like, no. So then why are you worrying about it? So like, what are you trying to like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like what you just said there was beautiful in terms of like adjustments. It's like, well, I just won't squat or I just won't go full range and shorten the range up a bit. The adjustments aren't that big. It's just small and minor, and they can make all the difference, right?
Too many people overcorrect, and they're like, "Oh, I just can't do anything anymore."
Yeah,
or,
we don't need to go and do like all these like, I don't know, foam roller kind of like float and heel exercise or whatever to it, and I really severely underload everything. It's just like, what movements are going to feel good, and let's load those ones for now.
Yeah,
right?
Just keep training hard how you can. And
yeah. Is that your working set, you reckon?
Yeah, that was a good working set for me.
Yeah, I'll take that off. I'll go another set at
you want that like 100 kilo again?
Yeah. It's one of the funny thing is when I started coming back post-op, like all the pains that I thought were no longer going to be there all of a sudden like that because I had the operation, they were still kind of there. And I got obsessed with certain lifts to try and clear myself to get back to skating. So like I could do like crazy, like I say crazy like for me, but like for example, I could riffle elevated split squat with the bad leg in front at 40 kilogram dumbbells. I don't know what that is in pounds, or I think I got to like the 45s each hand. But I was obsessed that if I squatted or if I lunged with my back foot, I'd still get pain. I'm like, well, I'm not ready to go back to skating. And it's just like, why?
Yeah.
Right? It's just certain lifts would give me pain, or like for some reason a pistol squat, I'd get pain on the way down. But I still had this like really strong lift here. But because I couldn't do that body weight, I was like, well, I'm not ready to go back to skating. And eventually I was just like, why? Like it doesn't correlate that way. And there's no reason as to why you have pain there. So why don't you just do the lifts that you can do and get strong at those, which I did, and it led me back to skating. And it was so funny, like the session, I went back and did a skate session and just forgot about everything and skated, and I was fine and I was happy and I was having fun again. Literally the next session that I went back into the gym, some of the lifts I couldn't do, like the pistol, I was just like, it was just on again.
Yeah.
And I was just like, fuck, like how much of it was just me just getting so caught up in my head and making it such a, like, I was so obsessed with this injury for so long, that I was just over worrying and just having fun again, doing stuff and performing without like having to think about, what position is my knee in and stuff like that. Like in the gym, you can just like over obsess about stupid shit that I don't think matters sometimes. And when you put someone in an athletic environment and they just perform sometimes, it just takes that hesitation away from the brain. And then you're just like, all right, I'm good to go. Yeah.
I think in terms of rehab too, like people are generally pretty good about understanding that the gym, you can adjust the load. You can squat 40, 50, 60, 70 kilos. Like you can do whatever you're ready to do on the day.
Yeah.
But then people make these like hard cutoffs of like you either are or you aren't ready to get back to skating.
Yeah.
Or you are or you aren't ready to start running. It's like,
you
can scale that kind of stuff too. And like you could just go like, just ride in a straight line down the sidewalk. You could do like little 5 centimeter ollies, like gradually just like give yourself the confidence. You like, I got on a board, didn't die, got on a board, wasn't in pain. And just like find that safe entry point and ramp back up versus it always being this like, I'm either ready or I'm not,
Yeah, and that's another thing that I've had an issue, trouble with skaters, because I'm always kind of rehabbing their injuries and coming back, is the education in terms of what your first session back would look like. Because they're like, we're getting you to a point to get back into skating. And then they're like, I've went back and, my knee still hurts, so I got injured. All right, walking through your session. Oh, I hit the 8 stair for like an hour. And I'm like, dude, this is your first session back.
Yeah.
Right? Like, do you understand? Like, there's still a, like you got to bridge that gap between where you are, it's just like testing things out, and going back to what you were doing. They just immediately go to full send. And there's never been any education around it. Like, all right, first session back, we're just going to do, flat ground tricks, small edge work, stuff like that, and just grease the wheels a little bit. See how you feel after, see how you pull up the next day.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's the big one as well. How do you feel the next day? Especially with skaters, they have a lot of tendon injuries, Achilles tendonitis, quad tendonitis stuff, right?
Yeah.
So how do you pull up the next day? And then we'll go off that. But a lot of them were just like, all right, you're good to skate. And it became a crash course for me, understanding like, one, I always like, I'll tell them like, do half an hour if I want them to do an hour.
Yeah.
Because they're always going to do like, they'll do free, right? So it's been nuts.
Totally.
Yeah, I know there's always like a little bit of a debate about the whole bilateral and unilateral lifts, and I've had a couple of guys come at me online over skateboarding and the argument over what's better, unilateral or bilateral, like squatting, and because I don't often give out squats to skaters, and it's not because of I think one's better than the other. It's just literally planning for the contingencies around what I've seen in skaters. whenever I've assessed a skater, they come in, at least one of their ankles is so dusted. As soon as you pop them into a squat, they shift so badly just because like, I mean, you're talking about years of abuse on this ankle, just being ripped to shreds, ankle rolls, never rehabbing it properly. So they just like got zero movement in one ankle and so they just shift. So it's like, just better off, if I can't see them, right?
Well, no,
you can't watch them, I'll just put them into a lunge pattern, right? Like, why am I arguing? They're gonna get the same benefits. It's like, why am I arguing over like, you know, whether a squat's better or not? You know, it's just like, who have you got in front of you? You know, it's a moot point, right?
No single exercise is that important.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like, I've kind of gone like almost full circle on it where I started doing a lot of single leg work because I thought it was more running specific.
Yeah.
And I realized like, it doesn't really matter that much. Like as long as you're getting strong. But then like kind of coming back around to like, a lot of times those single leg exercises are more accessible out of the gate to someone.
Yeah.
That like they're struggling to get in the gym and like train hard anyway.
Yeah.
And I don't want to create another barrier, even if it's like psychological of like, hey, we got to get through this ankle stuff you got going on, or you know, get through this back stuff you got going on. I'm like, I just want you to get in the gym, start training hard right away. Yeah. And like get you a good like positive relationship with exercise and strength training. Yeah. And then like a couple months from now, a couple years from now, if you want to barbell squat, we'll get there. Yeah. But like for now, like throw someone some lunges, like they're going to get a great stimulus day one. Yeah, they're going to get into good positions. You don't have to worry about some other things you would do potentially with like a squat. So it's like, I'll program more like bilateral squats, especially if I have some like machines, like throw someone on a hack squat. Yeah. Like immediately. Yeah. That's great. Yeah, yeah. But if it's like a runner training out of like a minimalist home gym. Yeah. Like start with some split squats or lunges and see how you get on, you know? Yeah. They got along the wrong way in terms of just being able to hold on to that exercise for a while, unload it and stuff as well. Yeah. Yeah, especially with those home gym setups. I feel like speaking of 2 sets, especially on heavy single leg stuff, now sometimes the thought of doing 3, I'm like, no way, dude. Like, I know, right? It's funny how that happens as well now where I'm like, yeah. And it is like I've said it now more so to clients when I started to realize like, you can get away with 5 sets, especially at the beginning, because they just haven't got the technical proficiency to go heavy anyway, right? And the loading isn't that great. So yeah, you can smash 5 sets a lot of the time. You're just working technique work, right? Yeah. At kind of like, like lower loading. But as you mature as a lifter, this is what I told myself, as you mature as a lifter and you start to get heavier, like it's a lot more taxing on the nervous system. You don't need that much. And you actually get a better in terms of technique, and then, you know, each repetition tends to look quite similar. So you're just getting better quality loading in that set anyway. Maybe you don't need, 5 sets. The thing is, you also need more warm-up sets sometimes as well, right? Yeah, and just quality warm-up sets to get a quality set. So it's been interesting even just figuring that out, because I tend to, look at, again, you shouldn't kind of look online at like how heavy other people lift. I've never thought of myself as particularly strong, right? Because you're comparing yourself to like what's out there, and these guys are lifting X amount of weight, and you're like, oh, I don't think I'm that strong. But it's like, at some point, you are getting stronger where you do have to transition from like these sets are costing you like neurally and fatigue and recovery. Yeah. You can't just keep smashing these 5-setters all the time, right? At least not if you want to do other stuff as well, and athletic endeavors and that, and not just be absolutely flawed all the time, Yeah. So, yeah, you see the same pattern with cardio, especially with like moderate intensity cardio. A lot of novice like runners, for example, they probably push a little bit too hard too often. Like easy days turn to medium days kind of thing. And like when you're a beginner runner, it's not the end of the world, because like the absolute outputs aren't that high. Yeah. The total training volume's not that high. But like when you get better at cardio and you're doing more cardio, like when it's an easy day, you got to learn to keep it easy. Yeah. And then like a smaller fraction of your training is actually really hard. Yeah. It's the same, you see that same pattern like through all sorts of different sports. Like the better you get, the more intensity discipline you have to have, the less you can handle just like kind of junk volume, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, intensity discipline is a good way to talk about it, right? It's exactly what it is. And
And it's just like we said before, it's like everyone wants that Rocky moment where you're just like throwing that, you set out the plan, and every session's just like this montage of you just like PRing, whatever. And a lot of the times it's like the good decision is to just hold back a little bit.
Yeah.
And then just actively let the plan take place over, you know, a 2 to 3 month period, as opposed to what you'll get out in a couple of sessions, you know?
I think there's a time when like you're a beginner and it's like, I just need to train harder.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But like, you can't just train harder forever.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like sometimes like high level athletes, they kind of contribute to this image of like, you know, I got to outwork everybody else. And it's like, athletes at the top, I don't think they're not working any harder than their competition. Yeah. You know, like you're all working appropriately hard. Yeah. And sometimes like the real discipline and the hard thing is like knowing when to stop for the day. Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. Not killing yourself every session. Yeah. But like the strategies I think that get people from beginner to intermediate are not always the same strategies as what gets you from intermediate to advanced. Yeah. And I think a lot of people get stuck in that like lifetime intermediate stage. Yeah. Because they have this mindset of like, more is better, got to train harder. Yeah. And it's like all these things that worked for a while and then just get kind of stuck. Yeah. Because I think it's a tough mindset shift to be like, oh, I should just do 2 sets and call it good today. Yeah, exactly. You know? And especially if you have like, definitely have people that are, I don't want to say weaker at mindset, but they're just not used to working hard and they think they're working hard, you know? I'll let you finish this. Yeah, like you know, given the endurance events and stuff that you do, like you're not someone that will particularly need to be told to work harder, right? You got to be kept back a lot of the time, I'd imagine, right? But in your head, and it happens to me, it's just like I always just assume that I'm underworking, and then you see the motivational videos online and it's like, oh, I must be underworking, I must not be loading enough and stuff like that, so I'm just going to do more. But then you actually sometimes see what's out there and you're like, oh, actually turns out I was overdoing it. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's an interesting moment to kind of have, because it's just, you know, it's like that strength thing I was saying before. I don't necessarily think I'm a strong guy because you're always looking at people like, you know, that are way stronger, like, oh, well, that's the bar, you know? And so I'm like, well, I'm not an advanced lifter yet. I don't need to drop my volume down or anything. Yes, these guys are, what's that? It's just like, no, but to get there, there's like a transition period. You've got to start kind of like gearing towards that, right? Yeah. But yeah, I think a lot of people tend to think they're working a lot harder than what they are. And like you said, they're getting a lot of junk volume in, stuff like that. But the issue is then when you get someone that is going to drive hard and they just always think that they're underworking, and it's like trying to get that person to slow down, that's a hard thing, right? I'm big on like, not that I don't think you shouldn't warm up, like people always strongman me with that, but like, I'm not big on like doing too much to warm up, having too many recovery protocols, and just like a bunch of things besides hard training. Because then you have people who are spending like an hour plus a day on their wellness routine, their recovery routine, their warm up, their cool down, their like all this stuff that's not really a training stimulus. Yeah. And they like think they're doing all this stuff. Yeah. You know, and it's like, in terms of actual quality training, you're not doing that much. Yeah. And if you would cut out some of the bullshit you're doing, and like you might have time to do a little more cardio or sleep a little more, eat a little better. Yeah. It's like the things that are probably gonna move the needle more than like the 20-minute foam rolling session that like probably feels good, but is it really the best use of that 20 minutes? Yeah. That's like one of my passion points for sure, because I think there's so much just like wasted time. Yeah. And so many people out there that like, I don't know why I'm not like getting these results. I train 2 hours a day. I'm like, you don't train 2 hours a day. You train like 40 minutes. 40 minutes. And you got an hour 20 like of bullshit. Yeah, you're fluffing about. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, my Aussie clients have some of the funniest expressions. You're like fluffing about. Yeah. Yeah, Aussies are sick in that sense. Yeah. Yeah, I think as I was saying to you before,
I was probably guilty of over like foam rolling and stuff like that. And I used to get a lot of treatment, right? Like, like 1 hour massage a week, and then I'd be getting like all this stuff, like acupuncture and that. And, it wasn't in the last couple of years, honestly, where I just started like dropping down to 2 sets, like 2 good, really hard working sets that I realized I just didn't need. It actually got in the way. Like going in and having an hour massage where someone is just ripping into your muscles and just like almost like to like a bruising point, like it was now getting in the way of me getting quality sessions in.
Yeah.
Right? And if I just drop my volume down, I actually didn't need it. But in my head, I was just so stuck on this. I got to do program sets, 5 sets, and then 4 sets of this, and then, another 4 sets of this. It's just like, dude, what, have you tried just changing your volume? You know what I mean? Adjusting a little bit. It's clear the message that you're not recovering in time. If you're needing to do all this other stuff, if you're needing to foam roll, if you're needing to kind of like to such an excessive point, right? Like, why don't you just drop your volume down and adjust your program,
Yeah.
And it is harder to do with yourself because with clients, you're like, they'll come in, I feel banged up. All right, maybe we did too much. Let's just drop it down a little bit. Yeah. But with yourself, I don't know. And it's just like, especially as a trainer as well. And again, we talk about like that athlete's mindset. We just think you need to be doing X amount or you're falling behind. That I'm just like, no, that's not the program. It's just, I just got to figure out a way to recover better. It's just like, dude, it's clear. The message is clear. Like, just drop your volume down.
Yeah.
And honestly, this last couple of years as well, I've done so minimal like of any of that stuff that I thought that was just part of the game. Yeah. Right? It's just like, you don't actually need it,
Well, sometimes some of it's like placebo, and some people make the argument like, let people have their placebo effects too.
Yeah.
But I think like sometimes it can backfire, especially when you start trying to do like 10 different things. Yeah. Because it's like you're making the thing so real for yourself and like focusing on it and thinking about it. Like you wake up and you're like, oh, how's the knee doing? I'm gonna go to massage. I'm gonna go to therapy. I'm gonna do all the things.
Yeah.
And it's like maybe just think about something else for a little bit. Just like de-stress.
Yeah. And just get away from it. Yeah.
Yeah. Just focus on the things you can do.
Yeah.
Obviously, like sometimes, certain things will help, but like I think more people need to just like learn to shut their brain off sometimes.
Yeah. And it happens a lot with the skaters I train as well, because obviously injuries are such a prevalent part of it. But I always tell my skaters as well, especially with skating, given that you're going to get injured at some point, it's just like you need to have something else going on other than skating in your life. Because when you get injured, if all you're thinking about is skating, is all you're going to think about is that injury. And it's just like they wake up, they feel it. Like they walk down the stairs, they feel it. They're brushing their teeth, they're feeling it out. They're palpating all the time, right? And just feeling it. How does it feel today? And they get so obsessed. And at some point, like you're getting them stronger and everything's looking good. There's no real reason for the pain to be there anymore. You're like, you shouldn't be able to do these things and still be feeling this pain to a certain extent, right? But you can see how obsessed and locked in they are with it, that if you just get them out of that mindset for a bit and just get them into doing something else, like they just relax and have fun again, that they just all of a sudden have this big jump in terms of those pain levels, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I always say, like, dude, if you want to be in skating, have something else other than skating that you want to do. Play the guitar, like do something completely different, right? You know what I mean? Get into some sort of arts or like whatever it is. Think of something that you've always wanted to try and try that, because when you get injured, your mind, like it can lead to really dark times, especially when all their identity is based on skateboarding. Yeah. So now them getting their identity back, their self-worth and their confidence is based off whatever injury this is getting better. And it's not a good environment to actually rehab, right? Like it's,
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Having some sort of other fun hobby is like the ultimate recovery hack, honestly. Like more so than massage or red light therapy or whatever, is like, do you have some sort of fun thing in your life where you can shut your brain off and think about something other than training? It's huge.
And that's a big one for trainers as well. Yeah, I think that's a big one for trainers as well, especially the trainers in the first few years of training.
That was all of it, right?
Yeah. Where they just become obsessed with training, and training's their entire life. It becomes a very unhealthy relationship, right?
Yeah.
The original skateboarders were like outcasts, and they didn't like, and even most skaters now, they like find skateboarding because they don't like organized sports and stuff like that, right? They don't like team games and stuff like that. And then a lot of the time, what they've experienced in younger ages when they were skateboarding is like the meatheads or jocks potentially picking on them and bullying them. And so they associate that as a bad thing. And then it's like they hate the jocks, and anyone that does gym training or is buff is the same guys. So they just hate that. It's anti that. That's what skateboarding is, anti that culture.
Yeah.
So now, especially with me, like now trying to bring the gym culture into skateboarding, there's a lot of like pushback, or anyone that tries to get big in skating is like, you know, fuck you. And, you know, like this is what it's about. But there's also a very big difference in terms of like what these young kids are doing now in skateboarding compared to what they were doing before. And that's like no disrespect to the older generation, right? But it's just like what you could get away with before in terms of like an ender for your part compared to what you have to do now, right? It's just like the body's just going through so much more, right? You know, you throw your fucking body down a fucking 10 or 20 stair rail for like 2 hours to get 5 seconds of footage. It's like your body's just copying it so much. And so these younger kids are now starting to embrace it a little bit more. And it is I honestly even train some skaters that like you don't really put it out there that you're training them because they don't want to be seen like that to the rest of the community. But they're like throwing down in the gym, right?
Yeah.
Because of what everyone else is going to say. But it's slowly now more of them are starting to talk about it a bit more and show themselves training, and some of them don't give a shit, and that's really good.
Yeah.
Some of them are willing to kind of wave the flag for training and what it's given them, you know. And again, you get the old heads that are still like a bit yappy or whatever, but a lot of them honestly don't skate anymore because they're injured, right? Which is the fucking craziest shit. It's just like, you know, it's so hilarious. You know, this is something fun. You know what always like shits me? It's like when I'm at the gym and I see a guy picking up a set of like dumbbells to press, and they're not comfortable getting in and out of the movement. You know, like they literally can't deadlift the weight up off the rack.
Yeah,
it's like you need to work on other qualities, dude.
Yeah, if I've had someone at the gym ask me to like spot them on a dumbbell press, I'm like, you sure, bro? Like, I don't know. I'll spot you, but you got me a little worried now.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm gonna tell you this. So like, a few weeks back, I was at home and I saw this kid pin his like 100 kilograms on his forehead, right? And it was just like, you know, I don't know about you, like I spent so much time on the gym floor. I think it was like at a big box gym for about 15, 16 years. And they're busy now. You just, when you're in a gym, there's an element of you just being on and you can see everything around you, what's going on.
Yeah.
And I seen this guy setting himself up for, just putting his plates on, and I was like, and he's like, he was high on something like pre-workout or whatever, and he had 100 kilograms on the bar for a bench. I'm like, you don't look like you can lift that. Yeah, you can just tell, and I was just like, let's see what's gonna happen here. And sure enough, I went around like a pillar, and I've heard, oh, like that, and I'm like, fuck, I knew straight away it was that guy.
Yeah.
So I walked around, and he'd like gone to lift, and like, because he'd gone up, he'd pinned a barbell on his forehead. And so he's just going, oh my God, just trying to get it out. And I just went and like lifted it up, and he's trying to help me. I go, dude, get the fuck out of the way. Get the fuck out of the way. He got out of the way, just brought it down and unwrapped.
Did you see the pounds kilos mishap at this like powerlifting competition last year?
No.
So it was this lifter, he was a master's lifter, and he was used to benching in pounds, but he put his opener like on the sheet, he wrote it in pounds, but the competition's in kilos.
Yeah.
And like no one caught it. Like he wrote 230. And like for his division, that would have been a world record. And no one caught like, hey, this dude is opening at a world record.
At a world record.
Like, maybe we should check. Are you sure you meant 230?
Yeah.
And you can see in the video, he goes to sit down. He sits down on the bench. He looks back and he asks, he's like, is this 230? And the spotters are like, yeah, it's 230.
Oh, wow.
So he's like, okay. And then he just unracks it and just gets absolutely destroyed by over twice what he thought the weight was going to be.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, You didn't want to take like a second look and be
Yeah.
like, I've never seen that many plates in the bar before?
Well, it's just like this kid, next week, same thing. He was doing the same thing. Like I was like lining up to do it, and this time, like, I don't know, but miraculously he got it out with some dude like basically like shrugging it out, the weight up for him as his spotter. You know what I mean? But I was
Just keep
like,
throwing yourself at it until you get it.
But I was like, this kid is doing this again. I was like, oh my God.
I do a little bit of skating, but I'm not super good.
Yeah.
So like, you know, if I do like the most advanced trick I can do, I'm still probably just kind of landing like this. But like I watch people go off these like big, 10, 15, 20 stairs, and they're like, knees coming in, they're like way down here when they land just like these crazy positions.
Yeah.
How much do you like specifically prepare for that in the gym with like, getting people into like
funky positions,
some compromised positions versus just like letting the skating take care of it? Does that make sense? Like how much do you do that?
Yeah, so it's interesting because it's always just like the coaching crowd is always like, let the sport take care of it, right? Or like, you do GPP and then let the sport, like, don't get too funky. And in a certain sense, you don't want to get too funky with exercises where you lose sight of like, the nuts and bolts of meat and potato stuff, right? Like that's going to look similar. But for example, in skating, you might fall into some patterns like for 2 hours straight one day and not see that pattern again or that movement or that particular landing sequence for months down the track, right? So it's like, how do you prepare for that? And it's like the sport isn't necessarily taking care of that either, right? So you do kind of want to expose them every now and then just to some funkier positions and end ranges and different catch positions and stuff like that. Because otherwise, when they all of a sudden randomly, spend 2 hours trying to do it, because that's a trick they're trying to land on the day, and they're like constantly landing like this or like the entire time for 2 hours, and then they don't do that again for the next 3 months, right? Because that was a particular trick on the day. It's like, well, they're going to get overworked and going to get overexposed, and then they get really sore on that side. And so I do think there's an element of like, you do need to expose them to like some funkier positions and the exploration of that.
Yeah.
You don't want to let it take over and get into like, like just the really funky stuff that you see that kind of like garners a lot of attention online. But there is a time and place for it as well, right? It's like the 80% of the stuff that we're going to do is just like good quality S&C work. We're going to work our plyos, our oscillatory work, deceleration drills, like your strength work, but we have room to play.
Yeah, totally. Skateboarding seems like on the one hand, it seems like a lot of like, kind of to borrow from Matt Watson, like ping tier, like really aggressive plyometrics. But then also like, I know the sessions can be 2-3 hours. So like there's a lot of volume.
Yeah.
In terms of like, how do you manage the skate stress versus the gym stress without like, overdoing it?
Yeah.
Do you like try to do things like work on positions they weren't hitting and skating that week?
Yeah.
Do like higher volume, lower intensity? Like,
yeah.
I don't know, like tell me more about that balance.
Well, it's just, it's one of the hardest things that we've been trying to like figure out how to program as well, like plyometrics more than anything, because they do have such a high level, high volume of like contacts that they get in a skate session. And I always say this when skaters are returning from injury, right? It's just like, we'll give you plyos leading up into it, but there's nothing like a skate session that's going to test that injury than like skate session, right? Because like even if we do work up to 250 contacts in a training session with your plyos, you blow past that in fucking 40 minutes of skating. You know what I mean? With the amount of like popping you do, like each time you pop, each time you land, like you run out of trick. So it's just like there's going to be nothing like it, and it's like the inverse as well. It's just like if someone's skating a lot, like it's hard to find the moments where we can really ping some plyos. But I think. Like Matt talks about this as well, everyone wants their glory moment of like seeing some really good like pinging plyos and that. We spend a lot more time in say the like lower intensity plyos, like, and really just get them a good base level before they start actually pinging some plyos. And even then we'll time our ping plyos, one on how they're feeling on the day, how they pull up, what have you been up to, what's their energy levels. And when they start their like lower intensity plyos, how does it look? Like, are they getting kind of snappy? Like, can you already see that they're like dragging a little bit? And then we base off like, all right, are we going to ping today or not? Or are we just going to do some extensive plyos?
Yeah.
Are they not ready for it, right? It's like, who's rocking up on the day, you know? It's just like, and how are they feeling? And then with that also, it's nice when you can do it face to face because you can see them and it's stuff that they're not really paying attention to. And then you can tell them like, this is why we did this today. You know, I can see you're a little bit tired, and then like, oh yeah, I have a bit tired, I slept like shit, and I battled this trick, I skated for 6 hours yesterday, right?
Yeah.
And so then you're like, all right, this is how we adjusted. And we didn't not do plyos, but we just didn't ping them, right? And then you have your moment, you wait for your moment where it's there, you see it on the day, and then they'll ping and be good for it. And like, yeah, you just take advantage of those times, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Skateboarders got to be masters at auto-regulating and kind of reactive programming a little bit.
Yeah, that's been the hardest thing to kind of teach them, right, overall. It's just like, how do I manage fatigue? Because they just have never thought about that.
Yeah. I'm sure they're pretty good at just like gritting through it and wanting to do all the things anyway. And you got to be the one that's like, nah, we'll skip that today. There you go.
Yeah. Again, you know what we were saying in terms of them being always kind of anti-sports and stuff like that. They've never really had a coach, you know? They've always been on their own doing whatever they wanted. And it's like, well, we talked about this before, but like everything that they do, like all the glory comes in their sport from ignoring pain, right? In search of the glory. So they're just really good at ignoring pain in all sorts of levels, right? And you just got to kind of really educate them on the sense that like, you don't ignore this pain, like you can get this better, you know?
Well, that's like endurance athletes are really good at pushing through fatigue.
Yeah, you're just gonna, yeah, exactly, 100%.
Like you can be super tired and still go 10 more miles.
Yeah.
Whereas like in the gym, you reach a certain point of fatigue, it's like, you're not really getting anything out of it at this point.
Yeah.
Whereas with like a long zone 2 session, it's like, you're tired, you got another hour.
Yeah.
You know?
That's fucked, yeah.
But like,
yeah.
trying to get through to an endurance athlete in the gym, it's like, we're not just chasing fatigue here the same way that you are on like a long run. Like, your quality is below a certain threshold, we're going home.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. And the same thing when you first start getting skaters training, like a lot of skaters had bad experiences with training because they tried it and they pulled up way too sore. And so they just are like, oh, I can't train, right? But like actually teaching them to leave a couple reps in the tank, you know what I mean? And getting them through some stages where they don't full send and they don't go to full failure. And they walk away feeling like decent, they feel good. Like it's okay to walk away feeling good from the session because they're bringing that same gnarly mindset they do from skating into the gym and they just need to feel like they're just completely fucked, right? And it's just like, no, dude, we're using this to complement that, not the other way around, right? And then you will have a moment eventually where like, you know, they may not have a lot on, they have a bit of space and also they're just like more confident and you can push them a bit. And every now and then it's okay, like you gotta teach them, every now and then it's okay to get a bit sore because you also sometimes float with the line of like, they're not pushing themselves enough, like, you know, or they just kind of coast. They get used to coasting. So there is a moment where every now and then it's like, all right, we've got a window. Like, what are you doing tomorrow? All right, cool. So you're like, all right, let's push it a bit. Let's see where you're at. And that's where sometimes they really get at the education of, oh, actually I had heaps more reps in the tank. I could have gone heavier. That was actually light. And then, oh, guess what? I didn't pull up as sore as what I thought I would. Okay, that's cool, right?
Yeah.
But
recalibrate.
Yeah, recalibrate. But it's just like, it's a thing over time. It's not done over a session and that, you know, it's just like getting used to the athlete and them getting used to you as well. And then it's like that collaborative effort and then understanding it, you know, it's just like, it's a nice thing to kind of build with someone over time as well, right?
Yeah. Nice. Do you have any like hot takes or controversial takes, things that you think or post about that are like maybe you disagree with compared to like the skate industry at large, anything like that that like
I mean,
you get shit for?
yeah, it's a hard one to try and, well, actually, I mean, training for me is a controversial take on the skate industry, right? Like I get a lot of backlash just trying to represent training, like especially initially when I started, I'd get a lot of like just nasty comments and shit, like, you know what I mean? But I mean, in terms of the training aspect and as well, it's just like, because it's a board sport and because you're like on, you know, wheels and it's an unstable environment, you really get a lot of the functional training crowd coming in, trying to put their 2 cents in, the unstable surface crowd coming in. And sometimes that stuff is hard to kind of like fight against as well, you know? And then you potentially see, they see some higher level athletes kind of doing it, you know, the high level skaters. And they're like, oh, well, this guy's doing it. Like, shouldn't we be doing this? You know, so it's just about the education in terms of like what that's actually doing, you know, and, you know, why we're doing these methods instead. Because, you know, I think sometimes it was trainers as well, we can tend to go too far into like battling against that. You know, like skater wants to feel like he's doing something that's relevant to skating and they see someone on an unstable surface or like a fucking like, I don't know what you call them, they're like a little disc and they're like, it's like almost looks like a skateboard and they're like, oh, well, that should be good for skating, right? And so you're battling this and sometimes I think we push too far the other way. It was just like squat, lunge, you know what I mean? Like single leg RDO or whatever it is. But like there's a medium of sometimes like you got to win them over a little bit. Like let them do their small unstable surface drill, you know what I mean, at the beginning of a session. And honestly, I've had heaps of skaters in like 2 months time, they're just like, just completely like don't even use that stuff anymore, right? Because you bring them over onto like the good shit, right? But it is because hard because sometimes there's a lot of funky stuff out there, and I get hit up all the time by product companies and whatever that they want me to push their product. I'm just like, I don't believe in it. They do like, and then I have fights with them. I'm on like these fights with them. It's like I don't know what to tell you, dude. And they're like, I'm just like, and they send me all these research. And it's just like, you look in the research done by them. It's like, I'm like, come on, dude. You
Always,
can't. Yeah, you know, but I'm just like, so now I just got used to saying, rather than arguing, I don't do any products. Because I don't, right? I don't represent any product. I've always thought that's like, you got to be willing to be able to like, not shit on anything, like, not in a bad way, but it's just like, you know, be able to go against or for anything, like, depending, you got to have no vested interest, right? So I don't go for any products. It's easier than having a debate with a guy who's trying to sell you an unstable surface training gadget who's made his own research on that, right? It's just like, I've lost way too many hours on the internet doing that.
Yeah. It's tough too, because like, especially like when you have an audience your size, like people will offer you a lot of money, you know, for a lot of the product endorsements. And even some that I'm like, I do kind of like that product. I'm like, I just don't want to like, I just want to be unbiased when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I'd rather not touch it.
Yeah.
But I get it too, because like, you also do all that work, you get to a point, you're like, oh, I can make a living off of this. So it's tricky, but I'm with you. Yeah,
it is a hard thing to keep your morals on the internet, my friend. Especially on the line, on the gram, you know, whether it be product, you know, and peddling products or just trying to like we just talked about, like not shit on someone, you know what I mean? Like,
I think you can tell when it's like in good faith versus just like trying to like ride some bigger name's coattails or something. But when it's like, hey, I like really feel strongly that like this message is leading people astray, like, you know, I'll talk about that, but I never want to just be like, oh, this person has a bigger following than me, I'm gonna talk shit. I'm
gonna go for them to like, because when they fall, all their followers are gonna be my followers now, and then I'll be top of the mountain. Yeah, you can definitely tell that, right? It's a funny game that we kind of play. But do you do much like products or anything like that?
No, I don't do any. No.
Yeah, I've been same.
No, it's like, I don't want to dilute my personal brand. I want to stay as unbiased as I can. And if I'm going to promote anything, it's just going to be my own programs and that kind of stuff, you know? Like, I can help you get in shape. And you can trust me for unbiased takes on products and diets and whatever. You don't have to worry. I'm just trying to sell you on AG1 or, you know?
I think it's just like as trainers as well. When you spend a lot of time training, gen pop and that, you get really used to like giving them what they want and then what they need as well. I think it's so important in terms of talking about giving them a good experience. You know, it's just like, I came up in an era where there was a lot of polygon trainers coming through, getting certified, and I'd watch them just kind of like bore the shit out of their clients, doing 12 weeks of structural balance work, you know? And this like poor lady came in, she just wants to drop a little bit of weight and feel good for, you know, her wedding day in a dress, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? And they've got her doing, you know, 12 weeks of dumbbell external rotation on knee, superset with like, you know, like front full letter blades, split squat, back and forth, like, and it's like, yes, I get that that's probably gonna work, and strength training was like, you know what she wants, and because they had this whole anti-cardio movement at the time, right? And it's just like, at the end of this session, if that's all she's done, she's gonna go home feeling so insecure about what she's doing and that she's not gonna get there. And yes, it's mostly all nutrition and calories and everything, but dude, if you just give her something that she feels like she's got a heart rate up a little bit, create a little challenge for her, make it something that she can feel proud of, you have so much more of a chance of keeping her and her feeling good towards this goal than if you just hammered your point home because you know you're right and this is the training that athletes do and it's right scientifically, you know what I mean?
Yeah, just do the fucking battle ropes.
Just like finish them off, right? Like, or give them a challenge. That's like, you know, we see the success of like CrossFit and High Rocks now, you know, and a lot of it's just like people, like they get a sense of accomplishment and they compete a little bit, you know, like they feel like they've won something. And they go home feeling good, right? And we sometimes forget, especially with all the science stuff, is like people do need to go home feeling good as well or feel like they're achieving their goal. And a lot of the time, the stuff that we implement that's very science-based is gonna take 6 to 8 weeks to start showing through or whatever it is that they're doing. So we need little wins straight away. Like, how can we do that? And a lot of that time, I think with the science-based crowd, it comes with like letting go of your, like just your tight grip on everything being right, you know what I mean?
Yeah. 1% better, but like a third is fun sometimes.
Yeah. Do you have an issue getting endurance athletes to train and kind of buy into the process?
You know, my main demographic is lifters who want to get better at running.
Oh, so it's the inverse. Yeah.
So they're all about like, I want to add running, but I don't want to lose strength.
Right.
So just trying to get them to be efficient with their strength programming.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, if we're going to add all this running, we might need to make some of these tweaks and like efficiency improvements in the gym so you can still have time for all the things.
Yeah.
Where a lot of them, they're used to just like, their life is just go to the gym for 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, all right, we want to hang on to all that progress, all those gains, but now you want to run a marathon too.
Yeah.
Something's got to give.
Yeah.
Let's learn to do things a little bit smarter so you don't have to be in there that long is probably the main thing I spend my time doing.
Yeah. And you find a lot of coaches or like those kind of guys that spend like a lot of junk volume, wasting a bit of too much time. You can just condense it all down.
I get a lot of times I'll write someone a program and they'll report back. They'll be like, you know, that lift took me 3 hours. And I'm like, that lift should not have taken you 3 hours.
Yeah, the classic.
Like, what's going on? Like, time your rest next time, let me know what's going on. And then I end up finding a lot of times it's like, you know, a lot of warm up, really, really long rest, which I like long rest, but also like we got shit to do. We got other things going on in your program. So like just helping people like, here's how we could maybe superset or like be more efficient with a warm up, or hey, let's hit like core and calves first. Just like get in, hit some good like quality sets right away.
Yeah.
Now when you get under the bar to squat, you already feel pretty warm, pretty good, versus like going in, heading straight to the squat rack, taking 20 minutes of warm up sets to get going.
Yeah.
You know, what if we just like bang out some leg curl, some calves, some core, that's your first 20 minutes. Now you get under the squat rack and you're like, oh, I feel pretty good. And just like boom, boom, ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm like now like just helping people realize that like some subtle tweaks that maybe aren't optimal on paper gets them through their session in half the time. And it's like 98% as good. Yeah. And like, hey, you got all this time and energy back. Let's go run 5K. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
That
That's
kind of
perfect.
thing.
Yeah. I think, a little bit of that forethought as well is just can provide so much value in terms of time. You know, it's just like thinking about what the first lift of the day is and then kind of working back from that. all right, it was just like, let's not waste a bunch of time doing mobility drills. But it's like, if we're doing an ISO that's like relative to the positional demands of, say, like the squat pattern that we're going to do, why don't we do that? And this almost takes away a bit of the front loading in terms of the warm-ups for the squat pattern.
Yeah.
And we've got a nice ISO in, you're kind of feeling warm, you got that good positional strength, and then now it just feels nicer to go into that squat, right? As opposed to just like doing a bunch of warm-up drills, whatever, doing your squat and then still having to do the ISO later. It's just like, I don't think people think about the order of operations of things and how we can kind of just like streamline things down the track for the session. And you said it, right? You get like someone going into some calf raises, you get their core firing by doing all their rotational work, the front load of the session. By the time they put a bar on their back, they're feeling really good.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like,
I've had people do like, the curved treadmill. Like some of my runners will be like, just come in the gym, jog for like 2-3 minutes, do a couple strides.
Yeah.
Just like get your stride going a little bit.
Yeah.
And then let's hit our session.
Yeah.
And like they feel so much better.
Yeah.
You know, just like do something that kind of gets the heart rate up for a minute or two, a couple plyos.
Yeah.
And then like you just are in a better headspace.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot more valuable than the traditional 8 warm-up sets of squats. Then you do a set at 50% and then sit down for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
it's fine, but like we don't all have that kind of time to try to get it all done.
To get it all done, right? Yeah. And then like that's what I was saying as well, like sometimes it's a lot of warm-up sets that just waste a lot of time. And I've like recently been in a couple of weight rooms with like higher end athletes, like teams and stuff, like I was saying in this trip. It's interesting to see what they actually warm up like. For all the stuff that we go on and bang on about like warm-ups and that, like there's not like a lot of time that they're spending warming up. They're getting under a bar pretty quickly, ripping a few sets and getting out of there, and that's it, right? Because they got like a game the next day or whatever it is. And that was one of the things that I was like surprising for me. It was just like, yeah, they're not doing 5 sets on a warm-up set. They're doing like some drills and stuff. They might do some ISOs and then like they're ripping straight in the first like maybe one warm-up set and go, right?
The difference, oh my God, dude, on that note, like you see some of these coaches on Instagram and a lot of them do train like elites or professionals or whatever, but you see a lot of their content about how they train their athletes. But when you actually get out there and you train with like a wide range of pros, and you're like, yeah, there's some people that are doing that have these like very elaborate routines. And then there's plenty of pros out there that just like eat a croissant for breakfast and walk into the gym and just like rip some heavy bench press like within 5 minutes. And it's like, they're doing fine too. I've had the chance to train with some absolute freak athletes like as part of this channel. Yeah. And like a lot of them, they're not doing anything fancy. Yeah. They're just better than you. Like, it's like, it's not smarter programming. Yeah. It's like, they're just physically superior and that's, Yeah. And it's crazy.
It is. I think sometimes online as well, we can get too carried away with like all the coaches and this stuff. Like I had this moment where I'm just like, are we going like too far now? Like at what point is the pendulum going to swing back around? And that was a big reason for the Toronto trip as well, where I was just exhausted by online and just the amount of shit that coaches talk. I'm like, what are we doing here now? Like, who is this helping? And so I kind of wanted to be in the weight room again, right? And so I hit up a couple of really like cool places in Toronto, and went and trained at their facilities. And it almost is like interning, just like message them, just like, can I come? I'll re-rack weights and stuff like that. I just want to be part of the environment, part of the process, and whatever, and spend some time there. And it's just like, it's interesting because I just wanted to see like, what are the guys actually doing, right? Yeah. Because there's a lot of guys online talking about doing the thing, and I'm not entirely sure that with the amount of theories they're coming up with, that they're actually doing it. Yeah. Because it's like they come up with these theories in their bedrooms, in the laptop, and then it's just like they're putting it out online, and next week they got another theory. It's just like, do you know how long these things actually take to manifest and then come in like when you're actually training athletes? It's like, test your theory for 3 to 6 months at a time on a bunch of athletes, and then we can talk about your next one. And it's just like within 24 hours, this guy's got a new theory. And it's just like, dude, enough with the theories. Go and do the fucking thing, you know?
A lot of it's like a kind of this like social media facade, and like a lot of it's like putting a certain image out there. Yeah. Whether it's like coaches overcomplicating it or athletes and coaches like overhyping the like making it the Rocky montage. Yeah. Where it's like a lot of it just like show up, put in some simple basic work, and just like be good. Yeah. You know? Yeah, 100%. But yeah, it's funny when you actually get in there and you see the difference between like what someone's posting and what their athletes are doing. It's funny. It's a crazy world.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Well, thanks again for being here, dude. That was easy, dude. A ton of fun.
That was sick.